Hi, I'm Dan Aubuchon, and welcome back to the Joy of Tennis Teaching. As you can see from my hat here today, this is a Roger Federer hat. Those of you who are keeping track, I earlier wore a Roger Federer white cap. This is the black one. I have it in at least one more color as well. But why do I have a Roger Federer cap on today? Well, that's because today we're going to talk about Roger Federer and Wimbledon. Wimbledon is the biggest and most important of the tennis tournaments and the professional players' year. I don't know why it's considered the biggest, but it really is. US Open may have more attendance and bigger money. French has great tradition. The Australian Open is the Happy Slam, but Wimbledon is the one that has the biggest ratings and by far the one that most players would choose as the tournament that they wish they could win. So the grass courts at Wimbledon have always had a special place for me from the time I started playing tennis and watching tennis. I can remember they didn't broadcast Wimbledon live back in the early 70s, and I would listen to it on the radio first and then watch the tape delay on TV. I've never coached at Wimbledon. 4 times I thought I was going to, but something always happened. My players got injured, they ended up not getting into the event or something. But one year when I was in England coaching at the grass court lead-up tournaments, I was with Sebastian Leroux. I believe it was during the Queen's Club tournament. We had an off day, and I decided to take the train, the tube, I think they call it in London, out to the Wimbledon, and I did the tour and I bought some things in the gift shop. So I had been on the grounds of the tournament, just not during the event. And what about Roger? Roger Federer was on one of the broadcasts. He was a very conspicuous presence in the Royal Box. He was down on the court to shake hands with Andy Murray at Andy Murray's last doubles match on center court. Roger loves Wimbledon. Novak is trying to break Roger's record of 7 Wimbledon championships. But I'm rooting for other players to come through and keep Roger intact. But for those of you who are fans of Roger Federer, I hope you will do 2 things in the coming days. One, watch the documentary special on Amazon Prime. I believe it's called The Last 12 Days or The Final 12 Days. It's a behind the scenes, very close personal look at how Roger handled the announcement of his retirement and the last 12 days leading up to his final match at the Laver Cup in the London tournament a couple of years ago. So it's really well done, and I think it's great because it gives you fantastic insight into how much Roger loves the sport of tennis and how much he will still be around the sport. I can't think of any player who gave more joy to us fans than Roger and played the game with more joy and more love of the game. So the Amazon Prime special is something I think you should watch for sure. And the other thing, and it's making the rounds on the internet, it's become kind of a viral sensation, is Roger's, I believe it's about 25-minute long, commencement speech at Dartmouth College. It's a great speech, and the one thing that I carried out of it that I hope all the tennis players and tennis coaches out there will carry out is Roger talked about how he won 80% of the matches in his career, but he only won 54% of the points. So he lost lots and lots of points, and his lesson there was it's only a point. And I think it's really important that we teach our students that the uniqueness of the tennis scoring, of the game of scoring. and how the tennis is a game where you're never out of it. You can always come back. The clock is not going to run out on you. And the ability to win the big important points. There's often matches where you might lose more points than your opponent, but if you win certain key points, you'll end up winning the match. And finally, I'm going to close out with our Wimbledon picks. The Wimbledon tournament this year has been plagued by rain, and they've had a lot of schedule ups and downs. The rain is not all that unusual. The great news is the two courts, center court and number one, now have roofs that can be closed. So, but those who picked winners in the tournament, the number one choice among our viewers was Sinner. And I'm sad to announce, for those of you who aren't watching it, Sinner got beat today in the quarterfinals in an amazing match. He lost in 5 sets to Daniil Medvedev. I was not that unhappy because I'm a fan of Medvedev's, and also I picked Carlos Alcaraz to win, who, as of this filming, is still alive and up in his match in the quarterfinals. And if he wins, he'll play Medvedev in the semifinal, which should be a great match. Novak, in spite of the injury to his knee at the French Open, is still doing well and looks to be the favorite in his half of the draw. So on the women's side, it was a disaster and bloodbath for the seeded players from early on. The number one pick, including me, of our viewers on the women's side was Coco Gauff, and Coco got beat by Emma Navarro in the 4th round the other day. So one of our pickers chose Sabalenka. I believe she went out in the 1st round. Swiatek, the number one seed, she got beat. It's just, I couldn't even tell you who's left in the women's draw because it's a cast of unseeded players and not that well-known players. So of the players that are left, Emma Navarro, the American, looks pretty good. Rybakina, the former Wimbledon champion, I think has a real shot with what's left. And also Donna Vekic, who I'm rooting for because she's being coached by Pam Shriver, and I like Pam. So that's it. So I hope you'll enjoy this final weekend of Wimbledon. I hope you'll do your best to see the things that I mentioned that Roger's done, and go out there and be joyful.